James Barnes, otherwise known as Bucky, was born March 10th, 1917. He was the eldest child of four, being incredibly athletic as well as academically very smart. During his childhood he met Steve Rogers, a year younger, small in stature, but a kind-hearted kid, who he saved from a bunch of bullies whom were stealing his money. They stayed great friends for many years, with Barnes often getting Rogers out of close scrapes with bullies. They went on many trips together, one of which resulted in Steve throwing up after being convinced to ride the Cyclone at Coney Island. In 1936, aged 19, Bucky accompanied Steve to his mother's funeral, offering him a place to stay, with Rogers refusing, saying that he could get by on his own. Bucky responded by saying he didn't have to, as he was with him to the end of the line. Barnes, continuing with his athletic triumphs, became a 3 times YMCA welterweight boxing champion, spending 2 weeks attempting to train Steve himself. In 1941, aged 24, the US finally joins the Allies in the Second World War. Both Bucky and Steve went to enlist in the army, with Steve being rejected but Bucky accepted. Barnes joined the 107th Infantry Regiment, training with them in the winter at Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. He quickly rose to the rank of sergeant, and right before his shipment off to England, saved his longtime friend from yet another bully, after Steve confronted him after he disrespected the troops at a theatre. Rogers revealed he had attempted to enlist several times, even using illegal papers to do so, as Bucky told him about his shipment the next morning. Seeing his friend saddened by the news, he decided to cheer him up. Barnes took him on a double date to the Stark Expo, whereby Stark Industries' latest and best inventions were showcased, with Howard Stark himself showing off the futuristic hover car. Rogers seemed disinterested, going to try and enlist once again, telling Bucky to not win the war without him, as he walked off with both girls, ready for one last night before his deployment. Whilst serving on the front line, Barnes and his unit were ambushed, but saved momentarily by a large German tank who killed the remaining Nazis. The German tank was actually Hydra. Hydra took Bucky and his men prisoners, where they were sent to work at a weapons facility in Austria. During his time at the facility, Barnes, along with his friends that were part of other Allied forces, took part in the creation of Valkyrie. Valkyrie was an advanced bomber plane, created by Hydra, that was to help them win the war and conquer the world. Due to the harsh working conditions, Barnes eventually grew too weak to work, being sent to Dr. Arnim Zola for experimentation. Months later, in November 1943, the weapons facility was infiltrated by that of Steve Rogers, who had changed considerably since Barnes last saw him. Changed physically, that is, by a super soldier serum, but inside he still held all his innocent, justice-driven values that made Bucky want to stand up for him all those years ago. Rogers made his way through the facility, freeing the prisoners. Whilst pursuing Dr. Zola, he came across Bucky in a lab, very weak but alive, who noted that he remembered Steve being considerably shorter the last time they'd seen each other. Whilst escaping, they ran into Johann Schmidt, the leader of Hydra, who revealed his red demonic face, which had occurred due to the intake of an earlier version of the super soldier serum. Schmidt escaped as the facility was slowly falling apart. Barnes and Rogers managed to just about escape with their lives before they were buried under piles of rubble. Regrouping with the escaped prisoners, Barnes and Captain America, as Steve had become, trekked 30 miles back to Italy to an Allies base, along with the weapons and equipment they had managed to steal from the facility before it had fallen. As they arrived, Barnes led the congratulations and cheering for his friend for his successful mission, despite going against orders for the rescue. Bucky and the prisoners were given time to recover and heal from the travels and time at the facility, relaxing a little in London. It wasn't too long before Steve returned to ask his good friend, along with some others that had gotten close whilst under Hydra's control, for help and for them to join a team, the Howling Commandos. Thanks to Cap's rescue mission, the Allies were able to locate many of Hydra's facilities and operations. Steve and Bucky led their team on the front lines of war once again, taking down and destroying these facilities. One of these missions was to board a moving train that they had confirmation for that Zola was on board. Taking out many soldiers, one caught the duo off guard, blowing a hole in the side of the train. Rogers was knocked back, dropping his shield. Barnes picked the shield up, but was blasted back once again by the same weapon, pushing him through the hole and leaving him grasping onto a railing, outside the moving vehicle. Before his friend could save him, the railing broke, causing him to fall to his assumed death. Thanks to the experimentation he endured at the facility, Barnes survived the fall, with his left arm being ripped from his body. His almost lifeless body was eventually found by a Soviet soldier, and he was detained by the Hydra Soviets. Zola was captured but eventually released by SHIELD and the SSR after helping with their war efforts. Hydra after the war managed to creep into the ranks of SHIELD, with Zola continuing his experiments with Barnes in secret, with him being the first of the Winter Soldier program. He replaced the remnants of Barnes' left arm with a metal-enhanced prosthetic, and began using various mind control techniques to ensure he stayed under their control. Using electroconvulsive therapy, they managed to achieve this, wiping his past memories also. They used this technique after every mission Barnes was sent on. He was the peak of physical perfection, along with his advanced weaponized arm, ultimately creating a perfect assassin. With his mind wiped after every mission, this super assassin held no emotion and did not fight his masters. To reap the benefits of such a deadly weapon, Hydra kept him within a cryostasis chamber when not on a mission, ensuring he did not age. On December 16th, 1991, the Winter Soldier was defrosted and sent on a mission to steal some more super soldier serum. It was to be found in the car of Howard Stark, who he had known in his past life. Stark recognized him, but that didn't matter. Barnes went ahead and killed both Howard and his wife, recovering the serum and taking it back to Hydra. The serum was used by Hydra to create a whole new set of super soldiers, injecting their very best and most skilled. Barnes was tasked with training them to a whole new level, with them being accepted into the program if they could overpower and subdue Barnes. Eventually, one was able to do so, but high on adrenaline killed a doctor trying to check his vitals. A riot broke out, and Barnes was told to protect Vasily Karpov, the man in charge of the program. Karpov decided to keep the other soldiers on ice until they could be controlled, with the facility abandoned after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. In 2009, Barnes encountered Black Widow, leaving his impression by shooting her through the stomach to kill his target. He quickly left afterwards. 5 years after that, in 2014, the Winter Soldier was activated once again, this time tasked with killing director of SHIELD, Nick Fury, as he was getting too close to unraveling Hydra's influence over the organization. Fury managed to escape the initial confrontation, but was located at Steve Rogers' apartment, who had also not aged a day due to being frozen in ice, as he sacrificed himself to take down the Valkyrie. Barnes shot Fury in the back multiple times before he could reveal any information about Hydra to Steve. He made his escape after being pursued by Rogers. He returned to Alexander Pierce's house, who had set him on this assignment, giving him a follow-up to kill Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff, aka Captain America and Black Widow. Barnes attacked them both whilst on a freeway, taking them on as well as Sam Wilson, a new friend of Steve's and ex-military. He managed to bring down Romanoff by shooting her in the shoulder, but before he could kill her, Steve stepped in. They were both very evenly matched, neither one gaining an upper hand, until Cap managed to rip off the soldier's mask, unveiling the face of his old friend, Bucky Barnes. Barnes escaped as Natasha, Sam, and Cap were all captured by Hydra agents that had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. He returned to a Hydra base to get his arm repaired, but started to remember old memories of Steve and the train. He reported to Pierce that he knew Steve Rogers somehow, which unnerved the Hydra agent, forcing him to undergo further mind alteration techniques to ensure he remained controlled. Cap and the team escape but infiltrate a S.H.I.E.L.D. base, revealing that the organization has been secretly under control by Hydra for years, urging agents to fight the poison infecting them. Cap's there to ensure Hydra doesn't complete their plan to eliminate all potential threats to them using S.H.I.E.L.D. resources, but Barnes is there to kill them all once again. He proceeds to rip off one of Sam's mechanical wings and focuses in on Cap. Cap manages to subdue Barnes after a lengthy fight, managing to complete his task to ensure Hydra's plan doesn't come to fruition in the nick of time. With the helicarrier they are both on falling to pieces, Barnes is trapped by debris and when helped out, attacks Cap again. His friend refuses to fight him, trying to remind him of his past. Barnes kept attacking until Cap fell into the water below. With one final sentence from Rogers, Barnes started to remember once again, diving in after his friend, bringing him to shore safely, but running off before he regained consciousness. Barnes returned to the Hydra base, assaulting but not killing the scientists there, finding himself at the Smithsonian Institution looking upon a memorial for Commando James Barnes, friend of Captain America, killed in action. Barnes was now officially on the run from the government, travelling around the world learning of his past and writing it all down in a notebook. Whilst in Romania, he noticed a man staring at him nervously. The man ran away, dropping his newspaper. Barnes took the paper, reading that he was being accused for the bombing on the Vienna International Centre in Austria, which had taken the lives of many, including King T'Chaka of Wakanda. He returned to his hideout to collect his things, finding Cap there already, warning him that there are others on the way coming to kill him. With many soldiers coming after him, Barnes made his escape, with Cap closely following and the Prince of Wakanda, T'Challa, also. They were eventually all caught with the help of War Machine. Barnes was locked within a containment cell, with a psychiatrist sent to interview him. The psychiatrist began asking him questions about his time with Hydra, but Bucky was silent. This psychiatrist was not one at all, but Baron Zemo, a survivor of the Sokovia disaster that the Avengers worked so hard to help with. His family, however, were not so lucky. Due to this, he wanted revenge, working to take them down by letting themselves rip each other apart. Zemo caused a blackout in the facility Barnes was kept in, allowing for no one to look in whilst he used the command words to get Barnes under his control. Zemo demanded to know the location of the other Winter Soldiers and escaped whilst Barnes tore through the Avengers. He attempted to also escape on a helicopter, but with Steve not allowing it, he crashed it into him, eventually hitting his head and falling unconscious as they both fall from the building. Steve took his friend to a warehouse, restraining him with a vice. Upon questioning when awake, it was obvious Barnes was back and the Winter Soldier had faded for now. Barnes told Cap and Sam that he was not the only Winter Soldier, leading to their mission being to stop Zemo from releasing the others. Recovering their equipment and some friends, they head to an airport but are met by the other Avengers. A fight broke out with all but Cap and Bucky being arrested and taken in. He questioned whether all of what had just happened was really worth it for him, with Steve reminding him what he had done as the Winter Soldier was not his fault. They got away from the airport, arriving at the Hydra facility in Siberia with Stark not far behind them. He had found out of Bucky's innocence regarding the bomb and came to help them against Zemo and the soldiers. They wandered through the facility, finding all the other Winter Soldiers killed, shot whilst still frozen. This was not Zemo's plan. His plan, as said, was to destroy the Avengers, but by letting them do it themselves. He did this by showing them a CCTV recording of the night Tony's parents were killed by Barnes. Filled with rage, Stark attacked Barnes, refusing to listen to Cap's reasoning, resulting in a fight between the three of them, and eventually Tony defeated. Cap dropped his shield as Tony claimed it was his father's, and walks away with his old friend. Outside the facility, they found Black Panther, who had overheard everything, captured Zemo, and offered his help. T'Challa and Wakanda had resources that could help remove Hydra's programming. They agreed, not before Cap returned to set free his Avenger friends from prison. Despite Cap's protesting, Barnes agreed to go back into cryogenic sleep until the programming was removed by Wakanda's top scientists. Shuri, T'Challa's sister, eventually managed to remove the programming, taking Barnes out of cryostasis and beginning his rehab of sorts in a nearby village. A couple years later, after working as a simple farmer in Wakanda, King T'Challa approached him with a new metallic arm, asking for his help. He was told about Thanos and the Infinity Stones, gearing up ready to meet his old friend and the others to defend the Earth. The fight began, and with the arrival of Thor, the Avengers and Wakandan forces won, with the battlefield falling silent. Thanos appeared, however, using the stones to teleport from his home world, where he just acquired the Time Stone from Stark and Doctor Strange. Bucky fired his gun, but it seemed useless, as Thanos just blasted everyone out of the way as he made his way to Vision for the final stone. With all 6 Infinity Stones, Thanos snapped his fingers, erasing half of all life from the universe. Sensing he was dying, Bucky called out to Steve, but fell into ashes. 5 years passed, and thanks to some time travel, Hulk snapped his fingers using the Nano Gauntlet, bringing everyone back. With some help from some of Doctor Strange's friends, Bucky, the Avengers, and all fellow allies joined forces against Thanos from 2014 and his army for one last battle. Stark managed to grab the Infinity Stones before Thanos snapped once again, using them to erase the Titan and his army from existence, killing the Avenger in the process. As a sign of respect, Bucky joined everyone in taking a knee for the fallen inventor. After Stark's funeral, Barnes accompanied Sam and Bruce Banner as they sent Steve back in time to place the stones back where they found them, the moment they took them. Before leaving, they recalled a conversation they had before Barnes first went off to war. Cap, however, missed his time to jump back to 2023, but calmly, Bucky turned and spotted an old man sat by the lake. Understanding what Steve had decided to do, to live a quiet life with the woman he loved, Peggy Carter, he called Sam over and encouraged him to speak with the elderly Cap. Steve talked with Sam, passing the mantle of Captain America over to him, complete with the shield and all, despite his questioning. But clearly Rogers had made his mind up, as it was never about being powerful or being a superhuman that made him have the title Captain America. It was the good man inside.